Hi grade 5, happy Tuesday. Another exciting math lesson today. We're still working with fractions. We're moving on to something a little bit different because now we're going to be doing mixed numbers. I know it says improper fractions, but we're actually not going to be covering that. So we're just going to be talking about mixed numbers today. So I'll start this off with a question. Have you ever answered this with a fraction? How old are you? And don't think about right now. Think about maybe when you were a little bit younger. Or maybe you have a younger brother or sister at home. Or I know you all know younger kids. But think about how a young kid sometimes will answer that question, how old are you? A lot of times, rather than just saying, I'm 5, I'm 6, I'm 7, they will say, I'm 7.5, let's say. So that's the example we have here, 7.5. If you notice, here is the whole number, which is 7, and there's the fraction, 1/2. So the reason that's called a mixed number is because it's got a whole number and a fraction. So anytime you have a whole number and a fraction, it's called a mixed number. One other question, you can think about this for a second at home. Where else have you seen or heard mixed numbers? One place I can think of is like if you're cooking something. You may be asked to put in 2 1/3 cups of something, for example. So anytime like that, maybe you're talking about how much you've eaten. If you've eaten a pizza, probably not by yourself, but with your family, maybe you've had 2.5 pizzas, something like that. So those are just some times where you would see mixed numbers. So the mixed number has a whole part and a fraction. So let's take a look at this example. It says some people ordered 3 pizzas, and this shows how much they ate. So we're going to take a look. Now remember, a fraction is a part of a whole. So we've got 3 wholes. 2 of them are completely full. So that tells us that that's going to be part of our mixed number. That's going to be 2, since 2 are completely shaded. And then we look at what we have left over. Notice it's divided into 2 parts. So that means our denominator is going to be 2. 1 part is shaded. That's going to be our numerator. So in this example, they ate 2.5 pizzas. So that's what we're looking at when we're showing it visually. We'll see how much of each whole is shaded, and then whatever the fraction is. And sometimes it might be in thirds, fourths, fifths. It can be any fraction of a whole. And we'll go over a few examples of that in the next few slides. So here are some exercises, and we're going to take kind of what we did in that last example and then write a mixed number for each picture. So again, first thing we do is count how many holes there are. So let's look at A. We've got 1 circle filled in, so that's just going to be 1. Then we've got to look, see how many parts this is divided into. It's divided into 4, so we know that's going to be our denominator. There's 1 part that is shaded, so 1 1/4. So 1 1/4. Let's take a look at B. We've got 2 holes, so we've got 2 divided into 2. 1 is shaded, so 2.5. Example C. Now we have 3 holes shaded, so there's 3. This one is divided into a lot more parts. So I'll count all the parts first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got that divided into eighths. And we've got 1, 2, 3 shaded, so 3 3/8 is the mixed number for that example. And now we have a bonus one. Let's take a look at this one. So you can see we've got 1 triangle shaded. Then I've got to count all these triangles and see how many there are. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's divided into 16ths. That's going to be our denominator. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shaded, so 1 and 5/16. So when you're looking at these mixed numbers, first count the ones that are completely shaded in, the holes. That's going to be your whole number. And then just as we've done before in the previous lessons, you count how many parts it's divided into to get your denominator. How many parts are shaded gives you your numerator, and that is your answer. So you have a whole number and a fraction every time you're looking for a mixed number. And just like when you have these two, we've got circles, triangles. You can have it in any shape you could have, and you can kind of look at that with fraction strips as well. So these are some examples of shapes, and we'll go over in a minute some drawings of these. So this one, it's going to ask to shade the correct number of holes and parts. 3 1/4. Now they've given more than 3 circles here, but since we only need to show 3 1/4, we first look at the whole number. So we'll just pretend that's all shaded in. So there's my 3, then 1/4. So there's 4 parts here, and then one of those is going to be shaded in, and that shows us 3 1/4. Hopefully pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to do. That's our whole number, that's our fraction. And you may also see, like in our next and final exercises, which are to actually draw the picture. So take the fraction and draw it, and it asks for pies, so I'll do circles. Now just use your imagination a little, that I'm making the circles the exact same size, and that I'm dividing it into 4 equal parts. Because it may not look like that, but that's what we're representing here. So first one, A, we've got 2 1/4. So I'll do 2 circles, and then the 1 circle for my fraction, and I'll shade those in. Now I've got to divide this circle into 4, so there's my 4 parts. One of those 4 would be shaded, so there's 2 1/4. 2 1/2. So there's my 2. This is only divided into 2 parts, and 1/2 of that will be shaded. And C, 3 3/4. Now I've got to draw 4 circles all together, because I've got my 3 for the whole number, and then the 4th one is for my part of the whole. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now I look at my denominator, know I need to divide this last circle into 4 parts, just like that, and 3 of those will be shaded in. So there's 3 3/4. And there's just one more example here, and that's all for this lesson. I'm sorry, 2 more. 3 1/8. So again, I will need to draw 4 circles because I've got 3 holes and then a part of a hole. I'll do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those 3 are shaded in to represent my whole number. And then now I've got to do 8ths. Remember, imagine that are equal parts. So I've got my 8 equal parts, and one of those is shaded in to represent 3 1/8. And then we got 1 3/8. So there's 1. Now I'm going to put a second circle because we've got a hole and then a part of a hole. So there's 1 shaded in, and again 8ths. So I just go like this. And my numerator is 3, so that means 3 of those 8 parts will be shaded. So there's 1, 2, and 3. 1 3/8. And that's all there is for today's lesson. So for your exercises today, you just have one sheet to do, and it's just going to be just like what I just went over. So hopefully everyone has a pretty good understanding of what they need to do for that. If not, you can email me questions or have someone at home get in touch with me and we can go over that. Besides that, I hope that everyone's having a good week so far, and I hope that you are able to get outside and get some fresh air and some exercise. Have a great day.